Okay, good evening, everyone. Okay, good evening, everyone. Okay, good evening, everyone. Okay, all right. Kindly confirm you can hear me. Kindly confirm you can hear me. Yeah, kindly confirm you can hear me. Yeah, this is deliberate. We intentionally turn off the mute button because the issue we encountered yesterday as per distractions in the class. We don't want such to repeat itself today. So we're trying to control things, but we're going to be using the chat box very well today. Thank you very much. Thank you, Kolawole. Thank you, Praise. Shegun Joyegbe, I see you. Um, I see everyone, Charles, Nora, Ezekiel, Joshua, Felix. You all are welcome. Those that are joining us on YouTube also, you're very much welcome to the day two of our class. I still remain myself. My name is still Olusegun Abiola Adeshina. And today we'll be concluding what we started yesterday, which is ISO 19011. I am pretty sure that if I allow people to unmute themselves and say, oh, just tell me one thing or the other that you learned yesterday, there is going to be, in fact, the learnings from yesterday alone would take the whole of the hours we're supposed to spend today. But I want to believe that one way or the other, you learned something, whether new or something that you've known before. I want to believe that, yes, you heard something that you've not heard before, or you learn what you have known, you now understand it the more, because I get a lot of messages in our inbox appreciating this initiative. Yeah. So we'll continue from where we stopped yesterday, guidelines for auditing management systems. And I told you that it is not just auditing management system. This is basically guidelines for internal auditors. When you understand this guideline, you can confidently say, if you are a newbie, that yeah, you understand certain aspects of the internal audit job. And then if you are already a professional, you will say yes, that by applying all of this principle, whatever result I am getting, if 1001 additional auditors come to evaluate the system I've evaluated, also when they apply these same principles, this same guideline, we're going to achieve at the same findings. So we move on to Okay, so we move on to what we are going to be doing today, which is managing and conducting audits and auditor competence. Today, we are going to be looking at all of these. We're going to be looking at the clause 5, clause 6, and the clause 7 of the guidelines today, which clause 7 is actually the last clause. I told you distinctly, specifically yesterday, that there is difference between guideline and the actual standard. Actual standard have 10 clauses, of which out of the 10 clauses, we have clause 1 to 3 as a non-auditable clause. But clause 4 to 10 are auditable clause that you are going to benchmark the operations, whatever you see within an organization, against the criteria that is provided in that particular standard. But for our guideline, this is simply telling us how you can conduct the audit, what are the principles that is expected of you to do, and then some terminologies that you come across when you are auditing systems. If you recall, yesterday we talked about, oh, when you are auditing a compliance or a regulatory audit, where you're conducting a compliance or regulatory, you use word like conformal, you use word like, yes, comply and non-comply. Yeah, these people comply with this and they did not comply with this. But in management standard, we use words like conformance and non-conformance. I will make ourselves to also understand that non-conformance is subdivided into two. We have major non-conformity and minor non-conformity. Why major non-conformity is anything that could cause a total breakdown of the management standard, or anything that would not allow the management standard to achieve its objective, the organization to achieve its what, its objective, is major non-conformity. Why minor non-conformity could be a minor lapse within the system, but we also make ourselves to understand that multiple minor lapse against a particular process could form a major non-conformity. We also speak about repeated findings. When an audit finding has been raised in the last audit, and then that finding is also coming up again in the previous or in the new year audit, then you can raise that as a major non-conformity because it is categorized as repeated findings. So today we'll be looking at the managing an audit program. We'll be looking at conducting an audit, and then we'll be looking at the competence and evaluation of an auditor. But before we move on, I'd love to walk us through what we where we left off yesterday, which is what I actually started with. I said we walked through the scope, walked through the structure and the key terms in ISO 19011. If you have any question, you can feel free to drop it in the chat box. We'll attend to it in due time. Okay, so we spoke about the key terminologies, which I have explained some of them. We talk about what the audit is. Audit is, yeah, I always like that definition, the systematic assessment of a particular system with using a particular criteria. And also we make mention of facts and evidence. We spoke about facts and evidence as an auditor. Very, very important for you to be able to come up with an evidence when you are raising a non-conformity. In fact, when you're even raising a conformity, it should be evidence what? It should be evidence-based. We talk about risk, which is the likelihood and impact of an event. That is, we spoke about that. Also, we spoke about some other terminologies. We spoke about the peer, that's the process effectiveness evaluation report. We spoke about the non-conformity reports and the likes. And then specifically, and the majority of our time was spent on the 7 auditing principles as documented in ISO 19011. We unpacked those 7 audit principles that should anchor every decision that an auditor is going to make. We spoke about integrity, we talked about the fair presentation, the due professional care, the confidentiality, the independence, evidence-based approach, and risk-based approach. One is not greater than the other. All of these principles are expected to be applied in accordance to the job that we perform. It is not until where you say, oh, I can implement the principle of confidentiality, but my independence is going to be a bit not up to optimal, a bit not up to 100%. Oh, I can present fairly, but I'm going to be biased. You know, it is not for us as an auditor, intending auditor, potential auditor, or already working professional auditors to say or to choose the particular principle that we want to work with. It is expected that we go through all of these principles. And today we are going to be looking at how we can turn these principles into practice across the the clauses. That's clause 5, clause 6, and then clause 7. Okay, so we now move to today, day 2 of this program. We are going to be looking at these 3 key important aspects. We are going to be looking at managing an audit program. What are the objectives? What's the risk-based planning, the resourcing, the team selection, and program records? We are going to be looking at that extensively in tonight's class. And also, we are going to be looking at the clause 6 of it, which is conducting an audit. We are going to be looking at the initiation. What are the phases of an auditing? What are the phases you go through when you want to conduct an audit, from the initiation to the planning, to the opening meeting, to the evidence, to the findings, to the reporting, and also the follow-up. We are going to be looking at all of that as documented in 2011. I said it earlier. Now, today, we are moving into like the core auditor's job. Every audit, whether ISO audit, whether operational audit, whether financial audit, whether regulatory audit, whether compliance audit, requires all of these things that we're going to be discussing today. Requires an audit program, requires you to plan an audit, requires a competence and evaluation of auditors. So this class is also very, very critical. As critical as yesterday's class is, this is also as critical as that class. So we move to the third one, the third subheading we'll be looking at today, which is called 7. We're going to be looking at competence and evaluation of auditors. What are the behaviors? Even though we have mentioned some yesterday, what are the behaviors? What are the knowledge? What are the skills that is required of an auditor, and how auditors' competence is assessed and then maintained? We are going to be talking about auditors' training. We're going to be talking about auditors' competence, auditors' knowledge, auditors' behavior in this part of the standard. Okay, so we now move to clause 5, managing an audit program. Managing an audit program. In this clause 5, we're going to be talking about how do we manage an audit program? How does an organization design? How do they resource? How do they run? And how do they continually improve a structured set of audits over time? And I'm going to start with say, okay, what is even an audit program? What is an audit program? So I think if you think you have something to tell us, yeah, let me hear from you. What do you think when you hear the word audit program? What comes to your mind? What do you think? Yeah, it's more like every other program, even church program, this program. What do you think is an audit program? You know what an audit is? You know what a program is? Do you think if you put both of it together, it's going to give you the real definition of an audit program? Drop your comments in the chat box. Let me see. What do you think is an audit program? What is an audit? Your own understanding. I have said earlier yesterday that there is no stupid answer, there is no incorrect answer. The best we can do is to what? Is to learn from ourselves. Robert said is the auditable entities in a department. Robert said the audit program is the auditable entities in a department. Any other person? What is an audit program? What do you think, and not from your own definition, what is an audit program? Buba said audit program is a written plan that outlines the procedure, steps, and tests. Olatunde Stephen Olawoyin. In fact, if I did not know any other name, I know Olatunde very well to be one of the persons that have always been joining my class over time. Audit program is a systematic approach to carry out an audit exercise drawn from beginning to the end. George said audit program is a plan that outlines the objective. Victor Nwachukwu said an audit program is a systematic set of instruction that guides auditor in collecting sufficient and appropriate evidence to achieve the audit objective. And Tunde said an audit program is a detailed step-by-step plan that outlines the audit procedure an auditor will perform to achieve the audit objective and gather sufficient appropriate evidence. From YouTube, Temison said an audit program is a curriculum to guide an auditor on the job. And Samsung, procedure to follow to analyze an organization. Audit program is detailed plan to audit procedures designed to achieve specific audit output. Yeah, in fact, here we have a lot. Segun Joyegbe said that it's the overall plan that specifies what will be audited. Overall plan that specifies what will be audited. So I am going to stop here. Yeah, you all have said, you've all said it. Yeah, you definition of your audit program is very is a plan. An audit program is a plan that tells you what audits do you want to conduct, how do you want to conduct this audit. And when we are talking about audit program, it has a lot of legs. It has a lot of things that is expected to be documented inside the audit program. When we get into the training, we are going to be saying, so for every definition that you have given is correct, systematic guide for an auditor. How do you want to conduct this audit? You want to conduct 5 audits. You put all of those audits together to call it an audit program. You want to conduct just one audit, and you draw out a systematic plan to know how you're going to conduct this audit. That is what? That is an audit program. Well, let's move on. Because of our time, we said yes. So what is an audit program here? Said working definition, the arrangement of one or more audits planned for a single time frame and directed towards a clear purpose. I tried as much as possible to simplify the definition so that everybody can follow along. Arrangement of one or more audits. Like I said earlier, you want to conduct multiple audits. Yeah, you arrange it. You want to conduct just one audit, you arrange it. Now, there are certain keywords that we need to put, that we need to take cognizance of. Arrangement, one, planned for a given time frame. What it means is that audit is what is timed. Planned for a given time frame. You don't open, audit is not open-ended. Audit is not open-ended. You don't start an audit in January and decide to say, oh, I want to conduct the audit of operations in January, and then your program is not stating when to start and when you are ending the audit. It is not complete when it doesn't have a given time frame. Oh, this audit is going to be conducted within 2 weeks. This is our start time and this is the expected ending time for this audit. Then directed towards a clear purpose. For every audit that you are carrying out, there must be a purpose attached to it. There is an objective for why you are conducting that audit. There is a reason for why you are conducting that audit. If I am coming today, like I said yesterday, I said there are 3 key things that you need to look at whenever you are conducting an audit. Regardless, you need to look at the hindsight, the insight, and the foresight. You look back, you look at the present, and then you look at the future. It's my own carved out definition. If you read the IIA, that's the Institute of Internal Auditing framework, that's a global standard, you understand what I am saying. Before, gone are the days when auditors sit down and say, oh, I want to come and look at what you are doing. Hindsight. No. Currently, we audit the past, the present, and the future. Now, the future is to say, regardless, even though this risk has not crystallized, even though this risk is yet to crystallize, we have observed that if we continue doing things like this is possibly going to be the outcome. And when you also look at that, oh, as an auditor, you are providing a valid and actionable recommendation to the organizer to say, oh, if we do it this way, it is projected our finances can move from this particular thing to this particular thing. If we do it like this, we are going to save this XYZ number of this XYZ amount of money. Now, now that we understand what an audit program is, that audit program is an arrangement for one or more audits that is planned for a given time frame and also directed towards a clear purpose. There are now certain things that shapes the extent of the audit program. I said it very clearly yesterday that there are certain things, the way I'm going to audit Bello and Bello company that has just 10 staff within its entity will be different from the way I will audit a Google that has 2,000 staffs and multiple branches or multiple regions across the states. While both of them, the objective is for both of them to meet a particular standard or a particular objective or particular criteria, the extent to which I am going to conduct that audit is not going to be dependent on the kind of company that I am auditing. Now, let us take, for instance, let me just use this practical example. You audit a particular organization that data loss is not that very critical to them, or let me say even say database monitoring is not very critical to them. Yeah, they have databases and they have a little bit of investment that they have invested in to monitor their databases, and then that investment is like, let's say it costs like around 2 million naira annually to now, you will not expect that that same investment is what a Microsoft that has more, that has data that is flowing in, billions and billions of data flowing in and out of the organization in seconds. They will obviously invest more than the organization. That's why we say the extent to which we conduct audit is also dependent on the size of the organization. Now, I now move to the say it depends on the size and nature of the auditee. What is the size and nature of the auditee? In my example, I say a 3-branch microfinance bank needs a different program from a 40-branch commercial bank. I hope I've made myself clear in this. So the size and nature of the organization or the auditee you are auditing is going to determine the extent to which your audit program is going to be robust, or to the extent of your audit program. Now, the complexity, functionality, and maturity of the management system being audited. You don't forget that the context of this training is ISO 19011, which is Guideline for Auditing Management Systems. Now, he said the complexity, functionality, and maturity of the management system that is being audited. And I'm going to add a little bit to this. I'm going to touch this up a bit to say the complexity, functionality, and maturity of the organizational process. Now, there are some organizations that their process it's very complex. You will agree with me that the process is very complex. So the extent to which you are going to bring up your audit program will now be dependent on the complexity of the organization that you are auditing, the functionality of that particular organization, and also the maturity of their management system. You are auditing a management standard, or the maturity of the organization as a whole. Now, the type and level of risk and opportunity the auditee is exposed to. I have said it earlier that Bello and Bello is processing about, let's say, 1,000 data subjects in a month, compared to Microsoft that is processing billions of data. The level of risk these two are exposed to is different. The impact of the risk is going to be different. When an organization like Bello and Bello is hacked, 1,000 data is out there in the open. The containment method that will be used to contain the impact will not be as much as when a Google or a Microsoft is hacked and billions of data is exposed to the public. These billions of data include people's habits. This data includes people's personal identifiable information. It includes people's personal health information. It includes quite a lot. So the kind of risk that they both are exposed to is different. And the same is applicable to opportunities. And then the extent of your audit program is also dependent on how much of the auditee's important functions are outsourced and to whom. In this part, we talk about third-party risk. Who is their third-party vendor? What part of their function is outsourced and to who? What part of their important function is outsourced? And then lastly, I said number and spread of sites. Single Lagos head office versus operations across multiple states. The way you are going to develop the audit program for an organization that has just just one branch in Lagos will be different from the way you audit an organization that has multiple branches across the states. So that is the extent. Those are the things that shape the extent to which our audit program can go. Do not forget the working definition of the audit program said the arrangement for one or more audits. planned for a given time frame directed towards a clear purpose. Directed towards a clear purpose. Yes, also Abimbola Michael asked if we are going to be giving a certificate. Yes, there's a certificate is going to be awarded to everyone, but you need to speak to the school concerning that. Yeah, you can, if you are coming from the WhatsApp, you see an admin that you can speak to, Global Institute of Internal Auditing. Just send the message to them. They are going to tell you the procedures to get in. Is there a manual for this training? Of course, it's going to be made available to everyone that join the call if you are interested. Okay, so we move on. So now we need to understand one thing, not just the audit program, but the entire management system operates on a plan, do, check, and act cycle. There is the plan, the do, the check, and the act cycle. I so much love this part because one thing that the management standard help us to do is, oh, you plan, yes, you have done it, you have checked, and you have acted on it. So it is a cycle that is continuous. You continuously plan, you continuously do, continuously check, continuously act until, in fact, you continue that cycle almost forever, because we believe so much in something that there is always a room for improvements at every point in time. Let me give you an example. I have been privileged to audit a system sometimes ago. And then while I audited the system, I come up with, like, let us assume this is just a fictional figure, 20 observations or 20 non-conformities. Now, the following year, because they've closed all the non-conformity, I audited that same system again, and the non-conformity reduces to like 5. And somebody is asking me, but you audited the system last year, you got 20, and this year we expect that you will not find anything. And mind you, the find that I got in the new year is entirely different from the 20 that I've got. Say, why don't you identify these 5 last year so that your observation will be 25? And then come this year and not. I said, if I come next year again, there is tendency that I will see another observation, because this process is continual. You continuously improve. You get to a stage, you will get to a maturity stage that it will be very difficult to even identify one non-conformity. Yes, a colleague of mine asked me, oh, is it possible for you to audit a management standard? In this case, is it possible for you to audit a management standard and you will not identify any major non-conformity and any minor non-conformity? I say, yes, it is very possible that you audit a system and you will find no major non-conformity and no minor non-conformity. It is the maturity of the organization, because you are auditing this thing every year. Every year. The first year you have conducted your certification audit. The second year you did your surveillance audit 1. The third year you conduct your surveillance audit 2. And the next year you conduct your recertification audit. And that circle goes on and on and on and on and on and on like that. Now, that is to ensure that you are closing every gap that is being identified at every point in time. It will get to a stage that your maturity will be top notch. And you're like, the only thing the auditor will come and see is, observation. I observed that. Then opportunity for improvement. Based on, do not forget, yesterday we thought that, we also have the opportunity to judge, professional judgment. Based on my professional experience, based on my experience auditing other systems, I think if you do it like this, it will also make your system much more better. Opportunity for improvements. So the audit program also operates on the same methodology: plan, do, check, and act cycle. Now, what is the plan telling us to do? So is to establish the program. The planning part of it is establishing the program. You'll get the manual. Thank you. Establishing the program. When you want to establish the program, there are quite a number of things that you are going to be doing. You need to set the objective. What do you want to achieve? What do you want to achieve with this audit? What are you trying to achieve? You set you identify risk and opportunities. You identify risk and what? An opportunity. And then in the do, you have established your program. You have identified your risk or your opportunity. You have set your objectives for the particular audit. The next thing you do is now to implement that established program. You implement the what? The established program. You define your scope. A colleague of mine, or let me say, yeah, a colleague and also a student say, I define my scope as the length and breadth to which you want to go. I said it earlier in this class that audit is not open-ended. And so also is your scope. Your scope is not open-ended. Oh, doctor has been appointed an auditor to audit ABC Bank. And that is all. There is no scope. What part of ABC Bank are you auditing? Are you auditing the whole bank? Are you auditing just the financial part? Are you auditing the IT? Now, even if you're auditing the IT, is there a specific place that you can get to or you are going to audit? Now, when you even want to audit that specific, is there a specific time frame that they just want you to come and check? Oh, this audit, the scope of this audit is events that occurred from 2023 till 2026, or events that occurred since inception but you just wake up one morning, establish your audit program, and your audit scope, your scope is just audit ABC Bank. That is not the length and breadth. That is not the entirety. That is not what you want to go and do. It's too vague. So in this implementing your program, you define your scope. You select your method. How do you want to conduct this audit? What methodology are you going to use to conduct this audit? We're going to talk about audit methodology when we get into as we proceed. You select your audit team. Are you the only one conducting this audit? Are you going to have additional people join you? Do you need a technical expert to join you in this audit? Do you think you have enough resources to conduct this audit? Then you run your individual audit. And the check is to monitor the program. We have documented this program. We've established it. We've implemented it. Are you tracking your schedule? Have we started? The objective that we set that we want to achieve, are we achieving it? As we are going, do you think we are going to achieve this what? This, do we think we are going to achieve the objective as documented in our audit program? This is where you track your schedules. You look at your team performance. Is auditor A doing better than auditor B in this aspect? Is there anyone that is pulling the team down not to be able to achieve the said objective that has been documented in the audit program? You are tracking your stakeholder feedback. Are we getting the required documentation that is expected? Are we getting the feedback that we expect from the stakeholders? And the last part, which is the act part of it, is now to review and improve. You have done all of this. You have established your program. You've implemented it. You are monitoring. Now, the output of your monitoring is now going to lead to what the lessons learned. What are the lessons that we have learned from the last audit that we conducted, from the last audit program that we have done? You capture these lessons learned and use it to improve your audit program. I remembered in one of the requirements of the standard, yes, I think it's ISO 27001, if I'm not mistaken, is lessons learned from incident events or from information security events or incidents. Now, incident has happened. It has happened and it has happened. Whether damage is done, whether you are able to, based on your plan, your procedures, whether you're able to curtail it and this thing did not crystallize. Did you learn any lesson? Especially, it's very always this kind of thing. Yeah, let me use business continuity. It's always very, very important in business continuity. Oh, you have documented your business continuity strategy. You have your business continuity plan, very well to do. And then you have conducted your exercise, which is your test business continuity. Oh, we documented that we are going to conduct a business continuity test to confirm if our strategy and our plan can actually be triggered when there is a real event. And from the plan that from the business continuity exercise that you conducted, there are some lessons that you learned. it is expected and by the international standard and even by all standard that it is expected that you use the lesson learned to improve on your strategy. You already have a strategy. You have a plan and you test this plan. After testing this plan, you discover that, oh, these are the lessons that we have learned. Now, the lessons you learned, you now use it to improve on the plan, such that by the time you are retesting that plan, that lapse that you identified in the first place will no longer be there. And that is how we continue to improve. How we continue to improve. How we continue to improve. I have been privileged to audit a system that their evacuation time for the whole floor. I think the organization has about three floors. Evacuation time in case of emergency is 2 minutes. The very first time, their documented evacuation time is 2 minutes. The very first time I looked at their test results, they evacuated in about 2 minutes, 1 second. And then they went back and sit down to say, how can we remove this one? What we have documented is 2 minutes. If the worst we should do is this 2 minutes. They sat down because they conducted this test twice, and I discovered that the second time when I looked at their testing report, they did this evacuation in 1 minute about 58 or 57 seconds. That is the expectation of the management standard. That's the expectation of the act. You have documented everything you want to document. Now review what you have documented and look at the lessons you have learned and use that lessons learned to improve on your program. That is that. So as an auditor, you've established your audit program, you have implemented the program, in fact, you've conducted the audit, you discover that, oh, our part of our program is for us to have this audit done in 2 weeks. However, we discovered that this audit was completed in 2 weeks, 2 days. Why? You ask yourself that why until you get to the root cause and say, okay, we're not going to use this why to improve on our audit program so that the next time we do not exceed the time that is allocated to us. Okay, so we move on. So we now go into the real definition of this. I've actually explained all of this in simple time, but let us just go through the slide. Say establishing audit program objectives. I said when we look at this, when we look at the plan, do, check, and act methodology, the very first thing is to plan, and that is to establish our audit program. Now, establishing an audit program objective. So the audit client sets objective that align the program with strategy. This objective then drive everything that follows. Now, your audit program is drawn from quite a number of things, and these are the things I will be listing here. The audit program audit program objective is drawn from the needs and expectation of interested parties, internal and external. I am using the word interested parties because in ISO, you will be hearing a lot about interested parties. Interested parties typically is those people that has interest in, let me just put the interest in a particular organization or a particular system. I always define it as those people that can affect or be affected by the management standard. Your organization is implementing a particular standard. Your interested parties are, if this management standard did not achieve its intended aim, if the organization did not meet its objective, who are those that could be affected? That is one. The second one is, who are those that can affect us such that we will not be able to achieve our objective? Those ones are people that we call what? Interested parties, and they can be internal or external. There are quite a number of ways you can identify your internal and external interested parties. Some of example of interested parties, internal interested could be your employee, could be your board of directors. External could be your board of directors. It could be your regulator, and so on and so forth. Now, we said another thing that another place where your audit program is drawn from is management system requirements and statutory or regulatory obligations. You also draw your program objective from management system requirements and statutory/regulatory obligations. You also draw it from the auditee's performance level and maturity, including past non-conformities or complaints. This same thing is also drawn from results and trends from previous audits. So all of this is going to form part of the things that will help you to set your own what, your own objective, your audit program objective. And a typical audit program objective identify opportunities to improve the management standard and its performance. Confirm the conformity to statutory, regulatory, and certification requirements. These are typical audit program objectives. Obtain and maintain confidence in an external provider's capability. Determine continuity, suitability, and effectiveness of the management system. So now, in establishing your audit program, you have drawn the audit program objective from the things that we have mentioned, the needs and expectation of interested parties, your management system requirements, the audit performance, the results from previous audits, their past non-conformities, the past complaints, and then you now come up with typical objective. Say objective 1, identify opportunities to improve management system, confirm conformity with regulations, statutory and certification requirements, and so on and so forth. Okay, so now after the plan, we move to still in the planning part, we talk about the audit program risk and opportunity. Even the audit program has its own risk and also adds its own what opportunity. Now, gone are the days that the only thing you document is your risk. Now, it is now very important to also document your opportunities. As you're having your risk register, you have your opportunity register. If this is a risk to our organization, if this is a risk to if we do it like this is possible risk that we can that the business can face. Now, if we also do things like this, what are also the possible opportunities? So as you're documenting the bad, document the good. As you're documenting the good, document the bad. So say risk-based thinking applies to the program itself, not only the auditing's process. Oh, it is very common to we auditors, especially when you're auditing ISO standards like this. Where's your risk where's your risk where's your risk analysis? Where's your risk assessment? Can I have it? Let's look at now. It is not just the auditing process that you conduct a risk assessment on or an opportunity assessment. You also conduct it on the audit program itself. So what it means is that risk does not choose where it stays. Risk is everywhere. And at the same time, opportunity is also everywhere. Now, there are some risks to watch out for in your audit. Say planning. Audit objective, scope, or schedule that is poorly defined is a risk. I have said earlier, there is scope creep. There is a time lapse. Oh, you have documented that you want to spend two weeks for this audit, but you end up spending 4 weeks. It's a risk to your audit program that you need to watch out for. You need to look at the resources, insufficient time, insufficient tools, or insufficient trained auditors allocated. Oh, you want to conduct an IT audit and you don't have someone who understands the foundation of systems and infrastructures. You don't have someone, whether as a technical expert from your auditee or a technical expert from even your side that is going to do or help in achieving this objective that you have set. Team selection. Overall competence inadequate for the audit. It's also a risk when you select incompetent auditors, when you think, oh, this auditor is good at doing this, so therefore let us also use him for doing another kind of audit. But the auditor or your selected auditor is not competent enough to carry out this audit. Communication and record is also a risk that you need to watch out for. Weak channels or poorly protected audit data. Remember that one of the principles of auditing that we discussed yesterday is confidentiality. That data that is gotten in the process of auditing must be kept confidential at all times during the audit process, even after the audit. And the last thing that is very common, even though depending on how you place yourself as an auditor, is the auditing corporation. Yes, a lot of people still have that notion that auditors are coming to check, they are coming to look for problem, they are coming to put someone in trouble. And as such, 100% cooperation is not going to be what given to the auditor. But I want to tell you categorically that it still boils down on the way you position yourself as an auditor. If the auditor is positioned as a value-added auditor, you are going to get the maximum cooperation that is required. If you position yourself as an auditor that adds value to a particular process, or when you audit a particular process, yes, you will see gap, but you will not just stop at seeing the gap or reporting the gap. You also give them actionable recommendations that could help them to close that gap, or you support the business to ensure that those gaps are closed. You have identified it, and you have also supported them to what? To close it and giving them additional value. Then you are going to be getting maximum cooperation. But nevertheless, it is also a risk to watch out for limited access to evidence or key personnel. Limited access to evidence or key personnel. And the opportunities to capture include combine multiple audits to a single visit to save time and cost. It is very possible that you can combine audit. It is yesterday we talked about combined audit and joint audit. Is there anybody that can tell me the difference between combined audit and joint audit? Let's see. Let me look at the chart. Yesterday we spoke about combined audit and joint audit. Is there anyone that can tell me the difference between combined audit and joint audit? Combined audit and joint audit. Type in the box, what is the difference between combined audit and joint audit? Where are my people? I hope I'm not the only one in this class. What's the difference from YouTube, from those that joined on Zoom? What is the difference between combined audit and joint audit? We said it yesterday. Okay, so that we won't waste our time. Now, we said combined audit is where you combine in context of management standard. In this case, we said combine. Okay, I think someone just dropped a message. Combined audit is when I combine two or more management systems together. Thank you, Julius. And joint audit involves more than one ISO standard. Joint audit involves more than one ISO standard. Combined audit is to combine two management standards together. Why joint audit is when two external audits work to. Thank you very much, Raifu Ismaila. Combined audit is when you put two management standards together. Two or more management standards together. I told you the structure of the management standard. Oh, all of them has clause 4 to clause 10. Combined audit is where you now combine, ISO 27001, which is information security, and ISO 42001, which is artificial intelligence. You put them together and you audit them together. But joint audit is when two auditing firms come together to audit just one organization or one auditee. When let's assume EY and Deloitte comes together to audit um, a particular organization. That is joint audit. Thank you, Abraham. Everyone that, yeah, thank you, Sunday. Thank you, Kola. Thank you, Utsomi Pizza. Okay, so we move on. Now, we said one of the opportunities here that you can also capture is combining multiple audits into one single visit. And when you combine multiple audits into one single visit, what does that translate to? You are saving time, you are saving cost, you are saving energy, you are saving resources. That's a minimize travel time, distance between audit locations. Then another one is match auditor competence precisely to audit objectives. You have documented your audit objective. You know what you want to do. And you also know the competence of the auditors that you have. So this audit objective will help you to match auditors to the best part that you think to a place where you think they can function well. And audit objectives also align audit dates with the availability of the auditee's key staff. Okay. So we move on. Okay, yeah, we get to a scenario part. This is scenario. Sorry. Okay, so this is Trustline Microfinance Bank. The headquarters is in Lagos with 14 branches across 6 states. 14 branches across 6 states. So when the audit program itself becomes a risk. Let's look at the scenario we have here. So the head of internal audits must cover all the 14 branches before the next Central Bank of Nigeria routine examination. But the audit team has only 2 qualified auditors and a 6-week windows. Trustline has 14 branches. And then CBN conducts routine examination. And then all the 14 branches, they have just 2 qualified auditors. The audit team just 2 qualified, and they have 6 weeks to conduct audits across the 14 branches in 6 states. What will they do? Now, there are some bullet points that say geographic spread means travel alone could consume half of the available days. Don't forget, 14 branches across 6 states. What it means is, let us even assume you want to divide it. So, Auditor A will go to 7 branches. Auditor B will go to 7 branches. That means those branches, if they are evenly distributed, 6 states, let's say 6 states we have 7 branch, another 3 states we have 7 branch, another 3 states we have 7 branch. So what it means is that I as Auditor B will travel across around 3 states, auditing 7 branches. Now, if we put all of those things together, and we have only 6 weeks to conduct this audit, just 6 weeks to even my travel time, traveling alone has taken half of the time. Now, what do we do? Based on the opportunity that we have, that we look at, what are the risks that is prevalent in this, and then what can we do? Say 2 auditors cannot realistically achieve full coverage with adequate sampling at every branch. There's sampling risk here. A rigid, unprioritized schedule risk shallow audits. A rigid, unprioritized schedule risk shallow audits everywhere rather than meaningful ones anywhere. So if these auditors want to rush everything, what they will do is, they just go to this branch, they just conduct shallow audits. Let's just do it. Then at that point in time, audit becomes a checkbox exercise. Now, what do we need to do for this kind of scenario? When you are in this kind of situation, it said rescope the audit around risk. We spoke about risk based yesterday. We said you place more audit time, audit resources on areas that you think or the organization deem fit as high risk. Now, the recommended approach here is that we should rescope the audit cycle around risk, not geography. Give full depth on-site audits to branches with highest risk profile, e.g., loan loss history, prior audit finding, cash handling volume, and the likes. And then apply a lighter touch remote review to lower risk branches and formally request additional resource or a revised completion date from the audit client. Let us assume that we don't even have the last two. They don't want to give you an additional resource, and then the date cannot be shifted. The first two approach is very optimal for this kind of situation. Of all the 14 branches, you grade them based on their risk profile. You profile them based on risk. Oh, branch A has 21 Branch A has 21 audit exception last year, last audit, and based on this audit exception, their cash handling is the highest among all of the other branches. So you grade those things down, and then you now know the one to fully give your time and commit your time to. While you are committing a lot of time to the one with the highest risk, you look for the ones with low risk, and then you conduct virtual. Oh, okay, either virtual audits online, or you conduct both hybrid. Oh, we are going to do a part, we are going to conduct a part of this audit virtually, and then we come and conduct the other part physically in the office. But you are going to be able to manage your time adequately. Now, what is I say as per clause 5.3 say an under-resourced schedule is itself a program risk. The manager's job is to secure adequate resources, not silently absorbing the shortfall. Risk-based prioritization directs the two auditors limited time to where it matters the most. I've said this. While remote method extend coverage of the lower risk branches without claiming assurance, the team cannot deliver. You speak out. Oh, these two auditors that I have here is not enough to carry out this particular exercise. You don't just silently take it in and say, oh, we have the two auditors I have, they are James Bond, they have the power, they have the might, they have the competence, they are agile, they are this, they can carry it out. Don't worry, they can travel from here to London, go and back in less than how many hours, and they will still function optimally. And then you now prioritize you prioritize the audit based on the risk profile of those branches. So we move on. We talk about the audit program manager. We talk about the audit program manager role and competence. What are the key responsibility of the audit program manager? Now, there are quite a number of things that the audit program. Who is the audit program manager? Someone who manages the team, who manages the audit itself, right? Now, what are the key responsibility? One of the responsibility of the audit program manager is to establish the extent of the program against the agreed objective. Do not forget that objective is one of the things that gives you the organization's objective is one of the things that where you draw your audit program from. For every audit program, there must be an objective. So as the audit program manager, you establish the extent of the audit of the program against the agreed objective. Audit program manager is also saddled with the responsibility of identifying the issues, risk, and opportunity, and also act on them. Do not forget, we have a cycle that we operate in as per ISO 19011. We have the plan, the do, the check, and the act. So you don't just identify, you don't just plan, you don't just do, you don't just check, you also act on those things. Audit program manager also assign roles, authorities, and team, and secures resources. And then the program manager will build core processes like scheduling, evaluating auditors, handling disputes, follow-up, and then the reporting. Excuse me. And finally, the audit program manager maintains the records and seeks the audit client's approval for the audit program at the end of the day. What are the competence that is required for you to have to be an audit program manager? You need to have gone through this training, because it is only in this training that you understand the auditing principles, the methods and processes. For every other ISO standard that is being taught, especially as a lead auditor, this ISO 19011 is a must, is a compulsory requirement, because it is assumed that when you don't have all of these principles, when you don't know what audit program is, when you don't know how to manage your audit, how do you want to conduct the audit? How do you want to go and evaluate the other standard is going to give you the criteria to evaluate all of this upon, but there are certain things that you need to know before you go ahead, before you move ahead to say, I want to go and evaluate a system or an organization against this certain criteria. So the competence is that you audit principles. You must have all of them. You must understand all of them. You must apply all of those audit principles, audit method and audit processes. And then the second one is that you must understand relevant management system standards. One of the principles of integrity is that you do not take up job that you know you cannot do. And that's why I said relevant management system standard. You don't take up a job of ISO 22301 business continuity where you know you don't have the competence to carry out that audit. Because you are ISO 14001 environmental management system certified lead auditor, you have been auditing EMS for years, does not automatically certify you to be to go and audit business continuity. The context is different. Because you have been auditing business continuity does not automatically certify you to go and audit occupational health and safety management system. You need to have relevant understanding. You need to have relevant competence in the management standard that you are managing or that you want to audit. And then you don't just sit down and say, oh, now I know I have the audit principles, I understand them, I can apply them, I know the management standard I want to. Now, you also know the auditee's context. You also have to have competence in the auditee's context, the activities, their products and services. And that is why I'm going to tell you what some of the things that I do when I am saddled with the responsibility of conducting an audit. When I have the audit clients, the next thing I do is go online. First thing I do is research about that particular organization. What do they do? Who is their management? What are the things that they are into? What's their product? What's their services? Now, that is going to give you a leverage ahead of someone who is just coming with the criteria, who is just coming with the understanding of the management standard and say, I want to come and audit this particular organization. The difference is going to be clear. You know where to go to. You know what to ask. You know who to ask. You know when to ask. You know how to ask. Now, you don't just stop there. You now look at the applicable statutory and regulatory requirement. I have said it. To the glory of God, I said it, I said it yesterday that the data protection regulation for Nigeria is different from data protection regulation for Ghana. That is because I've been able to look at it. Yeah, there are certain things that are quite similar, but you do not carry understanding or the knowledge of Nigerian data protection regulation to go and audit a Ghanaian firm. So you need to understand the applicable statutory and regulatory requirements. Oh, what is the requirement for this organization? The renewal, let's say, let me give you an example. If I am not mistaken, I don't want to give wrong, but Nigeria data protection requires that organizations get certified every year. You conduct your audit on a yearly basis. For Ghana, it's not yearly. I cannot really remember the number of years, but I know that it is not yearly. That is the difference. So you need to understand the applicable statutory requirements and their statutory and regulatory requirements. The regulatory requirement or statutory requirement of a capital market operator is different from the statutory requirement and regulatory requirement of a manufacturing firm. They are both different. So you need to understand the market. You need to understand where you want to go and audit and understand the prevailing regulatory and statutory requirements. And then where relevant, you need to understand, you need to have competence in risk, project, and ICT management. It will get to a point in time that everybody, in fact, it has gotten to that point in time that everybody, one way or the other, has to be techie. You need to be able to do one thing or the other. You need to be able to use technology to assist you one way or the other. So that's why I said where necessary, where relevant, you need to have competence in risk management. In fact, very, very important for auditors, in risk management, project management, and also ICT management. Okay, so we move on. Yeah, we talk about sizing the program and its resources, the scale and the capacity. Now, this is very, very self-explanatory because sizing the program and its resources is, oh, how many resources, if this program is like this, what are the number of resources that is required to carry out this particular audit? Said, what influences the extent to which you scale? What influences the extent to the capacity that is required? Say, objective, scope, and duration of each audit, and how many are needed. The bigger the objective, the bigger the scope, the lengthier the duration, the more time, the more resources allocated to that particular audit. Applicable standard and other audit criteria also influences the extent to which you are going to apply the resources to your audit program. The number, complexity, and similarity of audit activities to be audited. Now, if you're auditing two different entities, but what you're auditing is similar, it is possible for you to use one single resource to audit both because they look similar. I'm going to dwell a bit on this similar. The similarity of the activities to be audited. And that is why we have the combined audit. Because in most cases, ISO standards are similar. I have said it times without number here that all the ISO standard have the auditable clauses of clause 4 to what? To 10. They have auditable clauses of clause 4 to 10. For every of those standards, clause 4 will always be context of the organization. In the context of the organization, you are going to be seeing something like understanding the organization and its context, understanding the needs and expectations of interested parties, determining the scope of the management system. Now, I intentionally say of the management system, but in this case, let's assume you are auditing information security. It's going to be determining the scope of information security management system. When you get to occupational health and safety, it will be determining the scope of occupational health and safety management system. So the only thing that changes in all of these things is the context. The clause 5 of management standard always talk about leadership. Clause 6 will talk about planning. Clause 7 will talk about support. Clause 8 will talk about operation. Clause 9 will talk about performance evaluation. Clause 10 is going to always speak about improvement. All of this also follows the plan, do, check, and act methodology. If is an entire class on its own. You can take your time to read through, you can take your time, and then if there is opportunity also, that kind of class is also coming up too. So all of those things now, because ISO standards management system are similar, then they said, oh, you can combine these things together. For instance, Olusegun is a certified lead auditor in ISO 27001, 9001, 22301, 45001, 42001. And there is an organization that wants to implement, or they needed an auditor to audit 3 different standards for them. Now, they want to audit 22301, which is business continuity, 9001, which is quality management, and let's say at information security, which is 27001. Because I have understanding of how the management standard is structured, and I also have specific competence in each of these standards, I am what? Eligible, qualified, competent to carry out this audit. So they don't need to carry out an audit of 27001 separate. Somebody will come and audit 27001, write a report for them. That person goes through their clause 4 to clause 10, goes through the annex controls, annex 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then they conclude that audit, they move to another auditor comes in again, audits another, the same clause 4 to clause 10 for business continuity. We close the audit, another auditor comes again. It takes time, it takes resources, it trains the organization. So the extent to which your audit program, the extent to which you allocate resources to audit program, also the similarity of activities to be audited is also an influence. Now, result of previous audit and management reviews. It also influences the extent to which you apply resources to your audit program. And last one says language, cultural, and ICT consideration. Language, cultural. If you want, I understand ISO very well, and I am needed in Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast is a French-speaking country. I don't understand French. I cannot speak French. And they have chosen me to be to audit them. You know that there is an additional resources that is going to be needed, and that is in the form of a translator. That is going to be in the form of a translator. So language also matters, the cultural matters, and also the ICT consideration also matters. So resources to plan for, financial and time resources to develop and run the program, the auditor and technical expert availability and competence are part of the resources we need to plan for, the travel, accommodation, and time zone, ICT for remote audit, PPE, personal protective equipment, and security clearance where needed. Wow. Still have a long way to go. Okay, implementing the audit program. That's putting the audit plan to work. Once the program is established and resourced, the focus shifts to coordinated day-to-day delivery. So what do you need? Now, how do you put this plan to work? One, you communicate the relevant parties, you communicate the relevant parts of the program, including risk and opportunity, and keep interested parties updated. Communication is key here. You define the objective, scope, and criteria for each individual audit. Select your audit method, then coordinate and schedule all audit and related activities. Make sure every audit team has the competence and resource it's needed. Manage operational risk and unexpected issues as the program unfolds, and keep documented information properly manage and review the program for improvement. These are all of the things that we need to do to implement our audit program. These are just like things that you are doing in your field work. Oh, what do I need to do? I have communicate your audit program to relevant interested parties. You define your audit scope, your audit methodology for each individual audit that you want to conduct. You select your audit method. Is it remote? Is it physical? Is it virtual? Is it physical, or is it hybrid? A combination of both. And you make sure that the competent your auditor's competence is top notch, is adequate. Competent auditors carry out the audits and manage the risk that is involved, whether operational, whether financial, whether even the audit program risk, and keep documented information properly. So here we have spoken about this a lot. So I'm just going to scan through. We talk about the objectives, the scope, and criteria for each audit. You say, what is the objective is what the audit must accomplish. What do I want to get as a result of this audit? And the scope is the location, the function, activities, process covered, and the time period the audit looks at. I said it earlier, even though I did not give it like in this form, I said the length and breadth of the audit. How far and how wide will this my audit go? And that is why we are coming here to say the location. What location are in scope? What functions are in scope? What are the products that I am auditing? If the organization says your scope is, we have 7 products, however, your scope is just these 2 products, you don't go outside those 2 products. That is what they hire you to do. If an organization say, oh, we have 2,000 branches, but the scope of this audit is just the head office, you have no business with the branch office. And the criteria here is the reference point. That is the reference point that is used to judge conformity. Now, reference point majorly when you're conducting an ISO audit is the management standard. That does not mean the management standard is the only thing you use. You use the policy, the organizational policy, the procedures, the statutory and regulatory requirements, management system requirements, and the likes. So we talk about the selecting audit method. I have also said this while we're talking, there are 2 basic types, but I'm adding the 3rd one to it, which is hybrid. So now when you are selecting your audit methodology, you need to look at the extent to which interaction is going to happen before you decide on the kind of methodology that you need to employ. When there is there are 2 basic types here. We have the remote, we have the on-site, and also the combined. The 3rd one is the combined. When you need to interact a lot with humans, yes, today, glory be to God that we now have, you can interact via Teams meeting, via interactive communication tool, you can interact via things like this. We are on call. Gone are those days. If you want to come for this kind of lecture, it will be inside an hall with someone, basically, let's assume board, someone in front, everybody seated, and all of those things. But now these things can be conducted virtually. So what it means that human interaction can also occur virtually. So when on-site, interview, checklist, and questionnaires completed with the auditee, the document review with the auditee is present. When you are reviewing the document review, the auditee is there with you. You have face-to-face interaction with that auditee. You can ask questions. You can look at body languages. You can know all of those things. But when it is remote, document interviews is conducted using communication tool. Document is reviewed online. Then when you want to observe online, you can observe with a remote guide. Without human interaction, document and records reviewing, observing work performed, product sampling. And then when you are conducting this remotely, you can do your document and data review. You can conduct a lot of analysis on those documents, observation via surveillance means, and data analysis. I'm going to quickly give you an example here. In one of the harness controls of ISO 27001 is physical control. And I was privileged to audit an organization outside this country. It's basically in Ghana. I cannot travel to Ghana at that point in time, and I need to audit their physical control. They never expected it. I have about 7 auditees, about 7 participants online. I just chose 2 persons at random. Hello, I called his name. Hello, are you joining the call with your mobile phone or your laptop? He said, oh, I joined with my laptop. Okay, can you join this call with your mobile phone? He said, yes. Are you in social place? Okay, yes. Can you please turn on your camera? The guy turned on his camera. Go to this place. I want to see this thing. They were like, turn on camera, go to this. And the guy turned on his camera, went there. Show me this particular device. He showed me. Show me this particular area of this device. He showed me. Show me this. So what it means is that you can even do observation via surveillance. What I did there, I was not there, but I surveyed the environment remotely. And then when we now talk about combined audit methodologies, when you now put both on-site and remote together, where you combine both together, say most multi-site Nigerian program now blend on-site visit with remote review and virtual interviews to control travel, costs, and time. Balance the mix to suit each audit risk. So when you put the two together, oh, okay, let us, for instance, I want to conduct an audit in Nigeria. Basically, let's assume in Lagos, and I am in Lagos. I've conducted all other audits, and then I feel like, oh, for my physical audit, I need to be there because it's called physical controls. So I need to be there. I went there, conduct my physical controls. Oh, where is this? They showed me. Where is this? They showed me. So that is the combination of both on-site and remote audits. So we talk about selecting an audit team. The goal is overall team competence, not every individual auditor knowing everything. I have said it earlier that no one is an island of knowledge. I said it yesterday, but one thing you can do for yourself as an auditor is to continuously improve yourself. And I'm going to tell you an adage that I always tell my students back there. I think Olawoye is here, you must have heard. I said, auditors, to me, they are that particular adage of jack of all trade, master of none, oftentimes better than a master of one, is supposed to be for auditors. In fact, at the end of it, they are supposed to open and close a bracket and put auditors inside. Because one thing that audit will do for you is it opens your brain to understand a lot of processes, a lot of system, a lot of technology. Imagine, even you don't have the competence yet. Imagine you assisting someone to conduct financial audits. You work with a chartered accountant who is a chartered accountant who has a competence to conduct financial audit for organization, and you work alongside with the person. You are looking at what the person is doing. You don't have accounting background. You are very inquisitive. You are asking. You know how to pay attention to details. You ask, oh, what is this? Why did you do it like this? How is it like this? As an auditor, you've learned that part, maybe partially. And again, it is time to audit the MCC. You move up, you audited MCC. It is time again to audit IT. You don't have the competence, you get a technical expert, and when the technical expert is doing it, you will consciously and unconsciously discover that you are building competence in all of these areas that you have participated in. If you are serious, let me put that clause. You will discover that whenever you are giving, you may not be able to do it professionally like someone who has been doing it over time or someone who is trained to do it, but nobody will come and tell you the things that you know. No one can just use any word to cajole you to say, oh, go. When you know that one of the principles that for every debit entry, there must be a corresponding credit entry. You are not an accounting student, but because you have worked with someone who conducts financial audits, and you want to conduct financial audits, you are part of a team, and there is now a guy who is trying to use, oh no, it's not every entry that has this, there is not every of this entry that has a second leg. You now come up and say, well, from which standard are you, is your own, which standard are you referring to? Because the standard that I understand is that whenever there is this, there must be this. So that is, you are unconsciously or consciously building competence in all of those things. And when you get to marketing and corporate communication, and you discover, oh, what is this about? Someone is trying to cajole you. You say, no, 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 no. I have done this before, and from the standard operating procedure that I know, that I have seen, this is how it's supposed to be. From industry best practices, this is how it's supposed to be. You want to audit, let's say, a customer experience or a contact center, and you are talking to them in terms of net promoter score, customer satisfaction score. because you already have the experience, because you already have the training, passively or actively. So the goal is not like, oh, I want to know everything. I have to, in fact, I must be able to do financial, IT, operational, MCC in depth. But the goal is that the team should be competent. And where you now have, you now struggle to have, like, you cannot build a team like that. You don't have the capacity to build it, then train your auditors. As an auditor, train yourself. Continuously be trained. Okay, so we said match competence with complexity. Consider audit scope, criteria, the number of complexity of process, and whether it is a combined or joint audit. Match competence with complexity. When it is complex, make sure you put the most competent person to what to address that situation. Protect objectivity. Do not in any form assign someone who is involved in a particular process to audit that same process. Avoid assigning auditors with conflict of interest, and also consider language. I said earlier that I cannot speak French, but we want to audit a particular organization, and French is the language that is being spoken in that organization. And there is a team member of mine that understands French. Consider that language. Consider culture and also the need for technical experts and interpreters where necessary. Stay ready to adjust. If a competent gap or conflict of interest emerges mid-audit, the team composition should be changed, but only after arrangement with the relevant parties. How can this happen? Yesterday, I asked that if you are asked to audit your wife or your spouse and you discover that this. Now, what if you are asked to audit a particular process and you don't know that your in-law is there, and then you have been assigned to go and audit that particular thing? Mid-audit, you discover that, oh, I have someone in this department that is very close to me, and that person can impair my objectivity. The auditor declares. So you should always give room for flexibility, be agile. Oh, because this person has declared, okay, you can move to this place, you can move to this place, so that we can preserve objectivity and independence in the audit team composition. Briefing the audit team leader. As an audit team member, audit team leader, audit manager, there are quite a number of things that we also need to brief. So, say setting the team up to succeed. Information the leader must receive. The audit team leader must have the audit objective, criteria, and relevant documented information. The audit team leader must have the scope, the organization's function and processes to be audited. This is coming from the organization to be audited in this case. The audit team leader must have the audit methods and the composition of the team. Then audit team leader must have the contact details, location, time frame, and duration, and also resources needed and any identified risk to the objective. Additionally, part of the things also include working and reporting language, if different from the auditees. Confidentiality and information security requirements. We have said confidentiality times without number from yesterday to today. Health, safety, travel, and authorization agreement. And also for joint audit, the audit team leader must have, there must be an agreement between each party's authority before the audit starts. We are going to skip this scenario because of our time. We are far behind schedule. Now, we talk about managing results and records. So closing the loop on each audit. So managing audit program. Managing audit program results. So evaluate whether each audit meets its of. Very first thing you want to do after completing your audit is to know if what is to check if the audit what meets its objective. And then you need to now review and approve audit reports. Review how effective corrections actions have been. And then distribute report to the right interested party. Decide whether a follow-up audit is required. All of these come at the end of the audit. Obviously, when you have conducted the audit, you have done everything you need to do, you need to present a report to the management or to the highest authority or interested party, as the case may be, telling them, oh, these are the objectives, this is what we have done, this is the report, this is the corrective action and the correction action, and then you distribute the report to the appropriate level of authority or the appropriate interested party. So there are some records to maintain. We have the program level record, the schedule, the objective, risk register, and effectiveness review are program level records that needs to be maintained. We have the audit level. For audit level records, you have your audit plan, your audit report, your audit evidences, your non-conformity and corrective action reports. They are audit level reports, records that needs to be maintained. And then we have the team level, which is competence and performance evaluation records. Monitoring, reviewing and improving. So for monitor, you need to look at the schedules being met and the objective that we have set, do we achieve it? The audit team, how are they performing? Who is performing best? Who needs to upskill? Who is dragging the team down? Can the team actually deliver the audit plan? What feedback is coming from the client, the auditees, and the auditor? That is for monitor. Do not forget the plan, do, check, and act methodology. The plan, do, check, and act cycle. Now we are at the checking part. What feedback is coming from clients? Is documented information sufficient throughout the process? And now the act is assess the program against its objectives, then capture lessons learned. Apply changes where needed and review auditors' continuing professional development as report results and review outcome to the audit client. We're going to skip this. I would have loved to ask this question, but let me ask while I'm saying, who is accountable for the integrity of the audit program and for seeking the audit client's approval? It's just a one-word answer. If you know it, you can drop it down in the chat. Name two factors that should shape the extent of an audit program. We said this at the beginning of this clause 5. Name two factors that should shape the extent of an audit program. Now, we now move to clause 6, which is the conducting an audit. Thank you, the audit team leader, or the program manager. Okay, so clause 6, so conducting an audit. Now, these are the basic 5 steps, the basic 5 audit process step at a glance. The first thing, you initiate. The second, you prepare, conduct, report, and follow up. Excuse me, let me take water. Now, so this is the audit process at a glance. Now, in another word, they call it the phases of audit. In another word, you call it what? The phases of audit. But I'm going to stick to the ones that we had, the one we have here because of our time. Because if I try to start moving from here to there, we're going to spend a lot of time. In fact, 11 o'clock we might still be here. And I don't want to keep everybody waiting. Okay, so now, the very first thing you want to do is to initiate. In another word, they can call it audit planning. But here you are going to be using the word initiating an audit. That is making contact, confirming authority, checking for visibility. And the second step is to prepare for the audit preparation. Don't worry, I've seen the question. Can someone who is not a graduate be an auditor? I am going to answer those questions. I've put it down. Let us continue. We are running out of time. Seriously. Apologies. I will answer the question. Don't worry. Okay, so we move on to audit preparation. Then the third phase is audit conduction, or you call it the field work. Conduct the audit. And when conducting the audit, part of things you do is opening meeting, your evidence gathering, your findings, documentation, and the likes. And then you report. In this report, you evaluate your findings, you conclude on compliance or effectiveness, and then you issue your audit report. You also have your closing meeting or closeout meeting. And lastly, you now have the follow-up and closure. The follow-up and closure, you complete the audit, verify corrective action, and then you move on. So let us move on with the audit. Now, initiating the audit, establishing contact. It is very, very important that as an auditor, you establish contact, you confirm communication channel and the authority to audit. Oh, we are coming to conduct this audit. What's going to be the communication channel, WhatsApp, email, phone calls, and the likes. And then we need the authority to audit, backed up by maybe a documented information or the audit charter and all of the likes. Then you share the objective, scope, criteria, method, and team composition with the audit client. Request information on the auditees, identify risk and opportunity, and agree confidentiality treatment, schedule, and logistics. You also agree on observer, guides, or interpreter if needed. We are going to be talking about who an observer is and who is a guide, I think, in the next few slides. In the next few slides. So, is the audit feasible? Is there sufficient appropriate information to plan and run? Will the auditee cooperate adequately? Is there enough time and resource to do it properly? If not feasible, propose an alternative to the audit client. So these are the questions that you ask yourself to know if this audit is actually going to be what? To be successful. Because I just call it feasibility as success, as success. Oh, can this audit even run? Do we have enough time? Do we have enough resources? Do we have the adequate cooperation? Do we have enough backing to ensure that this audit is a success? If no, then give recommendations. So sorry, we cannot conduct this audit at this time. It is advised that we move this audit to this particular point in time. So preparing to audit, document review and risk-based planning. When you are preparing to conduct an audit, you need to review you need to understand and review documented information that is going to help you to understand the auditee's operation, their processes, and their functions. Now, you need to form a view of likely conformity before arriving on site. Oh, if they do this, that means they are doing the right thing based on what I have revealed so far. Flag possible deficiencies, omissions, and conflicts early. When you detect anything, flag it early. Someone asked me that when in the course of my audit, if you identify a lapse and before the audit ends, that particular exception has been closed, what do you do? I said I will report it, but I will report it as closed. Include management system record and past audit report. We've spoken a lot about the risk-based audit planning. Say you weigh the risk, not achieving the audit objective. Consider risk risks the audit itself poses to the auditee's operation. Build in flexibility. Plans should adapt to the audit processes. Be agile. Scale the level of detail to the audit scope and complexity. The most important thing here is that you weigh the risk of not achieving the audit objective. What is the risk of not achieving the what? The audit objective. You plan with that particular risk. So what belongs in an audit plan? What is an audit plan? This is like a set of instructions on how you want to carry out your audits, right? Now, what now is in your audit plan? A good audit plan addresses or references the following: audit objective and scope, the location, date, and duration of audits, audit method. I believe that all of these terminologies now, we understand them to a reasonable extent. Audit methods and the extent of sampling, the roles of team member, guide, and observers, resources allocated based on identified risk. Sorry, okay. Resources allocated based on identified risk, working and reporting language if different, confidentiality and information security matters, and follow-up action from any previous audit. All of this is expected to be documented in a good audit plan. Oh, what are you coming to achieve? What is the scope and what is the criteria? I wish I can open an audit plan here and show us a sample. But if you are in the group, you'd have seen a sample audit plan. That one is just like a one page. But in most cases, audit plan is always more than a page. If I'm chanced, before the week runs out, I'm going to drop a sample audit plan that everyone can see, and you will now see that for every of the line items here, each of them is covered. The audit objective is there, the scope and the criteria, the location, the date, the duration, the audit method, extent of sampling. All of these is expected to be included in an audit plan. How can I join the group? I don't know where you are joining us from. You want to join the group? I guess at the end of this class, I'm going to drop my phone number, so you can just send me a message directly. You can send me a message, then you'll be added to the group. Thank you. Okay, so we move on to assigning. Okay, we move on to assigning work and preparing audit work documents. Now, we said assign responsibility, not just task. The team leader allocates specific process, activity, or location to each member, matching impartiality, competence, and the efficient use of resources. Prepare working paper. Somebody asked, is it yesterday or today? Say, I want to use checklist. This is where, say, prepare working paper, checklist, sampling plans, audiovisual aids in any suitable medium. But this should never restrict the audit if new information emerges. Let me quickly speak on checklist. I think, let me quickly speak on checklist here. Now, checklist is good. As an auditor, it's good for you to use checklist, fine. But in most cases, when you grow in your audit career, or when you grow in a particular audit, you discover that you do not even need a checklist. Checklist is categorized as part of your working documents as an auditor. And then there are certain things that you need to ensure that your checklist should do, if at all you are going to use a checklist. Now, a checklist should be specific to a given management system. Do not use a generic checklist. Oh, the checklist that you use for information security, it is that same checklist that you are carrying to go and use to conduct financial audit. That same checklist is the one that you are using to do operational. That same checklist, you are bringing it back to do business continuity. No. Checklist should not be what? Should not be generic. It should be specific to the kind of audit that you want to go and perform. Checklist should be clear about evaluation criteria. And then in your checklist, you should identify records what to sample. Someone is asking, what does checklist look like? That's why I'm giving you the things that your checklist should do. Your checklist could be in form of Excel. As we speak, if I want to conduct an audit today, and I decided that, oh, I don't want to stress myself so much, you can prepare a checklist. Checklist will help you to ask relevant questions, relevant documents, in alignment with the criteria that you are using to audit the particular system. Now, I can share a sample checklist later. All of these things, because of our time, I'm trying to be time conscious. Because of our time, if you can just drop all of the things I'm promising, because of my, just drop it in the chat, in the WhatsApp, that I promise to share a sample audit plan, and I also promise to share a sample checklist. I'm going to share all of those things. I have them handy. Now, checklist, you also identify key people to interview, to mention but a few. Now, we need to take note. Do not let checklist be any of this. Do not let checklist narrow the vision or limit your evaluation. In most cases, I have evaluated that a lot of auditors that uses checklists seem to limit their vision, because they feel like, if I've asked all the questions in my checklist, then what else do I need to ask? But sometimes when you don't use checklists, you become more creative. You flow with the audit program. You flow with the audits. Yeah, checklist is good. You can use it. It's very, very nice for you to have. It helps you to structure your audit. But do not allow checklist to narrow your vision or limit your evaluation. Do not allow your checklist to be too strict or constraining. And then do not allow your checklist to be a script of exact questions. You know, sometimes you see checklists that ask for the quality management system. And then you go there and, hello, okay, quality manager, can I see your quality management system? And that one brings it out, and you assume, oh, everything is fine. Bam. Without checklist, there are quite more creative questions that could come, even when the audit manager, when the quality manager shows you the audit quality policy. Now, checklist should not be a yes or no list. And I have said it earlier that checklist should not be what? Should not be generic. But it is part of your working documents. And the third part here is that you need to safeguard what you collect. We cannot overemphasize the importance of confidentiality and security. See, documented information gathered during the audit, especially anything confidential or proprietary, must be protected throughout. Now, we talk about the opening meeting. Opening meeting is setting the tone. When you want to start an audit, it is very important. It is very important. Yes, thank you. You can have a checklist and also be creative. I said it earlier that don't just allow the checklist to limit your creativity. Do not allow it to limit your creativity. Okay, so now we move to opening meeting. Your opening meeting is always chaired by the audit team leader, and then opening meeting is setting the tone, is telling, oh, we want to start this audit proper now. We are informing everyone that the audit is starting appropriately, and the opening meeting should come with the following: confirm everyone agrees with the audit plan. In your opening meeting, you are confirming the audit plan, everybody is aligned with the audit plan. You are introducing your team and everybody's role in the opening meeting. You are reconfirming to the auditee the audit objective, the scope, and the criteria. You are clarifying communication channels during the audit. And you're also confirming to them the confidentiality and information security, and how you are going to be handling the information gotten during the audit and even after the audit. I'm going to explain how findings will be reported and graded as per information, as per management system. You tell them, oh, our audit findings is going to be graded into two major categories. which is going to be graded either conformance or non-conformance. And when an audit, when it is non-conformance, non-conformance can be in two major categories, which is major non-conformity and minor non-conformity. You tell them what the major non-conformity entails and also what the minor non-conformity entails. There are also additional ways to also grade this. You can tell them there are observations and then there are opportunity for improvement. You apply the condition under which the audit could be terminated. It is very possible that, oh, you can terminate this audit, but you tell them the condition that can make you terminate the audit. And then you also provide an opportunity for the auditee to ask questions. You provide an opportunity for the auditee to ask questions. Now, here you also introduce your guides and observers. So somebody is asking, who is a guide and who is an observer? Yesterday, we were talking about the technical expert. In one of the examples that we gave an example of a guide that ABC gives someone as a cybersecurity expert to Verify Limited to guide them, help them, be a technical expert to them in conducting the IT audit. So the IT audit. So who is a guide? A guide is appointed by the auditee to assist with access, introductions, and local rules. Now, a guide is somebody that the auditee gives you to say, oh, you don't know everything about this organization, but this person knows everything. If there's anything that you need, it will help you. You need to meet with somebody important urgently. Is going to help you schedule that meeting as swiftly and as quickly as possible. So what are the responsibilities of a guide? A guide assists the auditor in identifying individuals who participate in interviews and confirming things, timings and location. He arranges access to specific locations of the auditee. He witnesses the audit on behalf of the auditee when appropriate, and also provide clarification or assisting in collecting information when needed. So the guide is from the auditee part. Now, the observer may attend but not influence the audit. Who is the observer? Now, the observer is someone that is being brought from, if guide is from the auditee, then observer is from the auditor. A lot of us, one way or the other, have been an observer in an audit. So for observer may attend but not. So observers are someone that is attending the audit, but you don't have an influence in the audit at all. You are not speaking, you are just looking at what is going on. Observers, sometimes there are some certification body or accreditation body that will send an observer, especially for some auditors, some ISO auditors and the likes. They send an observer to come and even look at how you are conducting your audits. They are not going to say anything. You will just know that you have a plus one person. They will just know that, oh, we have one person in this audit process. He's taking his notes. He's an observer. He's observing everything that is happening from the auditor side and from the auditee side. The observer has no influence in the audit. When he sees a non-conformity, he won't talk. When he sees a conformity, he will not say anything. So observers don't have what? They don't have influence on the audit, and the auditing leader can restrict an observer from specific activities if needed. If you feel like, oh, this observer is not expected to have access to this kind of information, then you tell the observer to excuse you. In most cases, when I conduct an audit, when I get to clause 6, that is the people's control in ISO 27001, I ask everybody to excuse me because there are some confidential information that is going to be divulged in that process. You are an observer, you are a guide. Once you connect me with the appropriate person, in most cases, in this case, it's always the head of human capital or the head of human resource. Once I am with the person, I tell every other person, please excuse, it's just going to be myself and this person because of the level of information that is required at that particular point in time. Except when the business now say, oh, don't worry, this person can have access to this information. Okay, should we look at this? We have 6 more minutes and we have one more clause to go. Let's uh let's move on. Okay, let's look at it. Said a combined ISO 9001 GMP internal audit is about to begin at the pharmaceutical plant. The quality director raises concern about disclosing proprietary formulation data during the walkthrough. The audit scope includes restricted GMP production zones with strict access protocols. Confidentiality of formulation and process data must be agreed before any document is open. And Site safety and governing requirements need to be confirmed before entering the production area. Now, use the opening meeting to formally reconfirm because all of this is talking about confidentiality. And then I said earlier that you cannot understate the importance of confidentiality. You now use the opening to reiterate that confidentiality is of utmost importance. So every information, every data that is gathered in the process of this audit will remain confidential during the audit and even after the audit. Let us move on. We talk, reviewing information and verifying evidence. So we have the 4 C's of good evidences. So the 4 C's of evidence, information should be complete, correct, consistent, and current. Complete, all expected content is present. Correct, it conforms to reliable sources. Consistent, it with itself and related document. And current, it reflects the present state of things. That is what the 4 C of good evidence. So whatever evidence you are taking as an auditor must match this criteria. It must be complete, ensure that it is correct, ensure that it is consistent, and it is current. You will agree with me that it is possible for an information to be complete, correct, consistent, and not current. So if it misses any of these C, then that evidence should be subject to further review. Collecting evidence, you use interviews, observations, and document reviews or combined as needed. Only information that can be verified counts as audit evidence. We have said it yesterday that your audit evidence must be verifiable. Where verification is limited, apply professional judgment on how much to rely on it. Record evidences that lead to your findings. Audit sampling. There are 2 basic sample approaches to audit. We have the judgmental-based sampling and the statistical-based sampling. So statistical is based on mathematical formula. You understand all of that. And judgment is relying on teams' competence and experience. Oh, when I look at this thing, I know that, it's not correct. But statistical is where you apply some statistical formula, statistical algorithms, mathematical algorithms to come to a conclusion. That is just basically, I don't want to spend much time here. Generating finding and grading non-conformity. How findings are formed. So evidence is evaluated against audit criteria. That has already been established, that your evidence is evaluated against the audit criteria. Findings show conformity, non-conformity, or an improvement opportunity. And non-conformity and their supporting evidence must be recorded when you are generating your findings. Review findings with the auditee to confirm evidence is accurate. Now, I want to talk about this evidence review. It is very important that as an auditor, after you are done with your audit, you review your findings with your auditee before you move to a closeout meeting, because auditee can be funny. And aside from that, keep evidence. I have said it in several of my classes that I have audited a system that after agreement with the auditee, when we get to the audit closeout meeting, the auditee denied and said, no, this is not an audit finding. This is that. Where is the evidence that? And thankfully, I have an evidence. When I showed the evidence, presented the evidence, say, oh, I did not know this is what you are referring to. If I don't have an evidence at that point in time, I'll just be like, I'll be dumbfounded. I'll be like, oh, I'll be rubbished. Let me just put it that way. Like, it doesn't know what it is. It's just trying to formulate audit findings. Now, grading the example, minor non-conformity. I've told you that we can grade a non-conformity as either minor or major. Major is when there is a total breakdown that could stop the management system from achieving its objective, or stop the organization from achieving its objective. A minor is isolated findings within the system that could not necessarily affect the organization from achieving their objective. So we move on. Conclusion and the closing meeting. So it said, before closing meeting, review findings and other information against audit objective. Agree conclusion, accounting for the uncertainty in any audit. Prepare recommendation if the audit plan calls for them. And then discuss what follow-up, if any, will be needed. At the closing meeting, chaired by the team lead, findings and conclusions are presented. Explain the reporting method and consequences of unresolved findings, and also record any diverging opinion that could be resolved. How can one take audit evidence, by picture or by recording? You can take your audit evidence anyhow you feel important, but before you take anything, ensure that you have the right to take all of those things. Yes, you might be backed up by certain things. Like I said, when you are conducting an interview, you want to interview someone, it is not bad for you to say, oh, this interview is being recorded. I hope you are aware. And the person that is aware that is being recorded, because that interview could form part of your audit evidence in the nearest future. And when you have been given the right to take as much information as you want, and maybe you are conducting a remote interview, you take screenshots, you record, you are in a meeting with someone, you already put your team's recording, everybody knows that the record is ongoing, and then that can serve as your audit evidence. Okay, so at the closing meeting, you explain the reporting method and consequences of unresolved findings, and you record any diverging opinion that could not be resolved. So this clause is talking about the reporting and follow-up. So report a complete, accurate, and concise record of the audit issued within an agreed time frame, with reasons given for any delay. We have said this time without number. Complete. The audit ends once all planned activities are done or are otherwise agreed. Confidentiality obligation continue afterwards. You will discover that when I mention confidentiality, I always mention during the audit and after the audit, because those information that you know during the audit, this is not like somebody will come to your head and factory reset your brain such that you will not know anything that I have done again. So that is why confidentiality obligation, information security continues even after the audit. And follow-up, the auditee owns corrective action. Their effectiveness is verified. Sometimes at the next scheduled audit, you confirm that, yeah, the corrective actions that is being carried out is effective. Sometimes if it is a certification audit, you may not be verified. It is verified at the next scheduled audit. So the audit report, what must the audit report contain? Must contain the audit objective, the scope, the criteria, identification of the audit client and auditee, the audit team and auditee participation, dates and location of audit activity, audit findings and evidence behind them, audit conclusion and degree of criteria fulfillment, any unresolved diverging opinion, and a reminder that audits are sampling exercise. A reminder that audits are sampling exercise. So we move on. Completing the audit and follow-up. Audit is complete once all planned activities are carried out. We have said this, don't let us waste time here. I would have loved to do I've asked this question: what 3 conditions determine whether an audit is feasible? What is the difference between a guide and an observer in an audit? Name the 4 C's used to judge whether information is good audit evidence. And then we now come to the clause 7, which is the last part of this. We'll talk about the competence and evaluation of auditors. So what an auditor needs to be effective, and how organization confirm and keep that competence. Now, these are just few of the personal behavior of an effective auditor that we have documented here. Say the standard names 13. This 13 is documented in ISO 19011. All of this behavior is expected that an auditor should have it. You have to be ethical, fair, truthful. If you look at all of this now, you will discover that some of them all of them is also pointing to the 7 principles of auditing. But let's move ethical. You have to be fair, truthful, sincere, honest, and discreet. An auditor must be open-minded, willingness to consider alternative idea or points of view. You must be diplomatic, tactful in dealing with people. Auditor must be observant. I said it earlier, say you pay attention to details, actively aware of physical surroundings and activities, observant to the level of even being able to read, people's body language. Gideon, sample of an audit report is going to be presented, but not in this class. It will be made available. Don't worry. In the audit in the group, I will try as much as possible. Like I said, you guys should just remind me all the things I have promised. In case I might forget them, just drop it in the. I'll drop my phone number after the class, so I can get reminders. And for people that are not in the group chat, you can always join the group chat even after this class. Okay, so move on. An auditor must be what? Perceptive, aware of, and able to understand situations as they are. You must be versatile, tenacious, decisive. Auditors, in fact, that's decisiveness, reaches timely conclusion based on logical reasoning. You must be self-reliant. You act with fortitude, open to improvement, culturally sensitive, and collaborative. All of these 13 principles, all of the 13 personal behaviors an auditor must have them. If there are anyone, you as an auditor, you think, oh, I think I am not open-minded. In fact, this open-mindedness is a topic on its own for internal auditors, especially those old, you understand, not these new generational auditors. And truth be told, even these new generation, they are not open-minded. Some are not. Once they set their mind that this is the way to do it, nobody can tell them to change otherwise. Yeah, while that is good, we can say it is decisiveness, but you still need to hear other people's opinion. Check, does this what this person is saying, is it making sense? If I also look at it from this point of view, is it going to change my opinion on this thing? So that is this. So those are the personal behavior of an effective auditor. So that general knowledge, skill, and discipline, specific competence. This is generic leadership and specialist. So for all auditors, you want to be an auditor, you need to have all of these audit principles. We have said it. You need to understand the 7 principles of auditing. All those 7 principles of audit. You need to understand audit methodology and processes. And then you don't just stop there. You need to understand relevant management system standards. In this case, I'm mentioning management system standard because the guideline we are talking about today is guideline for auditing management system. You need to understand the process you want to audit. That is simply it. After understanding the process, you need to understand the auditing's context and operation. You cannot effectively audit a system that you don't understand. And finally, you need to understand applicable statutory and regulatory requirements. No matter how small it may be, no matter how big an organization, they have statutory. In fact, they will always obey to the laws. I call it laws of the land, one way or the other. Now, for a team leader, you need to be able to plan and assign audit tasks. You need to have that engagement mentality, engagement spirit, engagement prowess, engaging top management on strategic issues. You have gone beyond operational issues. Now because you are the audit team leader, you need to be able to understand what's the difference between an operational issue and a strategic issue. So you should engage top management. And you need to be able to manage audit process at any conflict. Sometimes issues will come up. You need to understand conflict management. Then representing the team and finalizing the report. Audit team leader understands almost everything that the audit team members are doing. So you should be able to represent the team and also finalize it, because how do you review what you don't even know? And then discipline specific. Now, you now want to be auditor for an accounting auditor. You understand that requirement and principles of the standard to be audited. An accounting, a financial auditor, you need to understand. You need to understand all those accounting principles, the IAS standards, all the applicable standards. Oh, you want to be auditing IT. You need to understand basic principles, IT rules, all of those things. Sector-specific method and technique. If there are sector-specific methods and technique that needs to be used in that discipline-specific audit, you need to be able to then judging discipline-specific risk and opportunity. Okay. Evaluating an auditor, the criteria, the method, and the process. So there are two ways you can evaluate an auditor. You can either evaluate it qualitatively or quantitatively. Qualitative is not numerical, actually. Demonstrated behaviors, knowledge or skill in training or on the job. And quantitative is the years of experience, the audit conducted, the number of hours. That's what quantitative is, something that you can actually quantify. You can put a number to it. But qualitative, you cannot, but you can see the traits in that person. So the method, review of records. Well, it's going to tell you the education, the training, and the audit experience that particular auditor has. Another way you can evaluate your auditor is through feedback. Send surveys to the auditee. How is this auditor doing? During peer reviews, let other auditors come. And somebody once asked me one question. He asked me, he said, who audits the auditor? And I'm going to throw the question out now to everybody. Who audits the auditor? Please put your answer in the chat box. That's going to be the last discussion for today. So also interview, behavior, communication skill, and knowledge check. You can evaluate your auditor's competence by conducting an interview for them. You can also evaluate your auditor's competence by observing them, looking at how they do it. You witness the audit as an observer. On the job performance, then you also what? Test them orally, written, psychometric assessment. You then post audit review. Performance during a real audit include auditive feedback. I've said it earlier. See, if you combine all of this together, you'll be able to ascertain the quality of the auditors that you are. You'll be able to evaluate the auditors that you have. Maintaining and improving auditor competence. Competence is not a one-time qualification. It is sustained deliberately. So how do you now do this? You continuously improve, continual professional development, keeping pace with changes to standard, regulatory requirements, sector practice, and organization's own context. Very soon, we wanted to come up with, everybody knows that artificial intelligence is out there. Everybody is using AI. But as an auditor, have you gone for artificial intelligence training that's going to help you to also perform your audit effectively, timely, and efficiently? Regular participation in audit. Competence is maintained through practice. While you continuously improve yourself, some people that join this class since yesterday and today, it's not because they're not tired from that, but because they want to improve. They want to continuously develop. Oh, I know this thing before, but I even want to refresh my memory. It's part of improvement. It's part of professional development. Now, regular participation in audit. You are participating in audit. Competence is not built inside the house. Competence is maintained through practice. Auditors who go too long between audits should be re-evaluated before assignment. You take one audit today, before you conduct another audit is after 4 years. When you continuously conduct audits, you learn more, you learn more, you learn more. New emerging technologies, you learn how to use it, emerging threats, emerging risks. You see them play out in real life. Structured improvement activities like mentoring, peer review, attending auditing meetings and lessons learned session, and pursuing relevant external training. Pursuing relevant external training is also part of a way of improving and maintaining improvement competence as an auditor. So auditor competence and evaluation, what to remember: independence is protected proactively. Reassign before a conflict undermines a finding. Knowledge and skill are very, very important. Put personal behaviors, but personal behaviors are what makes evidence trustworthy. Knowledge and skill is necessary, but your attitude is what makes the evidence trustworthy. No single evaluation method is sufficient. Combine all of them. You cannot say because I have looked at the record, I'm okay. Combine record checking, feedback, observation, testing, and all of it. Competence is maintained through practice and continuous professional development, not certified once and forgotten forever. Oh, now I am a certified lead auditor in ISO 27000. You did not even conduct one single ISO 27001 audit. You did not even join an audit to be an observer, not to talk of conduct audit. And after 7 years, you still call yourself a certified lead auditor in ISO 27001. You are joking. Because it's just one question that somebody will throw at you, and that question will throw you off balance. Because the last time you took that course was 7 years ago, and you think you still know everything about that course when things have changed, syllabus have changed, curriculum have changed more than 7 times. Okay, so let me look at the response from, say, who audits the auditor? Who audits the auditor? Say, professional body audits the auditor by testing if they observe the standard. Government and statutory regulators. Who audit the audit? The external auditor. The external auditor audits internal auditor. Peer review. Through peer review, a lead auditor is audited by colleague auditor, audit committee, head audit as well, audit committee. Okay, let's look at what is on YouTube. External auditor. Okay, yeah, you all are correct. Like I said, no wrong answer. But for everyone on this call, I want you to go and research on something that is called Quality Assurance and Improvement Plan, QAIP. Yeah, auditor can be reviewed, can be audited by peer review, external auditors, but everyone should go and understand internal audit quality assurance and improvement plan, QAIP, and then submit external auditor and professional regulatory body, correct? Yes, go and read on it, research on it. Is part of HIA standard also. Just make your research as an auditor and even as a non-auditor. It's a program that is expected to be carried out on internal audit process. Some regulatory bodies mandate it, some do not mandate it, but just go and research on it. So that is going to form the end of our class. Someone asked one question. I promised I'm going to answer. I said, I'm an undergraduate. Can I be an auditor? That question is very solid. But I would say I was not regarded as an auditor while I was an undergraduate. But it does not mean that you cannot audit a system. Especially, let's say, like ISO 27001, even though educational qualification is very, very important, like we said in the auditor's competence. Auditor's competence is not just measured by by what you can do. Your education is also very, very important. Yeah, you can begin to build skills, build competence in audit, but I think your education, because no organization will recruit an undergraduate and say, can you be? Yeah, you can go through the training, you can be an observer. In fact, you can be an audit team member that is not yet fully commissioned as an auditor. You can conduct audit, but for the purpose of employment, I don't think that is possible. But for the purpose of auditing a system, I think it is possible, especially where you have the necessary qualification. Okay, so it's time to ask question. Next 5 minutes. Let's use it to ask question. So, okay, I saw a question here, sorry. Say, how about AI in the auditing system for standard? Is it available? Usability for maximizing manual task. Okay, that is something that is going to come on board very soon. This thing is the flyer is going to be made available. The training is also going to come up like this, both on YouTube, stream live on YouTube and also on Zoom. Okay, someone said difference between ISO standard and ISA standard. Okay, while I may not know the ISA that you are referring to, but Investment and Security Act as per Nigeria is ISA standard that is used basically in the capital markets space, and ISO is also a standard. There are two different bodies and their objective is different. They are two different body and the objectives are different. So, like I said in the beginning of International Organization for Standardization, that is ISO, and their own aim is to give like a standard. They gave us a standard to international standard to doing a lot of things. In fact, in the whole world, ISO, I don't think there is anybody, I don't think in the world, no, there's somebody that will say, I've never heard of ISO. Why ISO? There is ISO standard for information security, there's ISO standard for business continuity, there's for quality, there's for occupational health and safety. So they lay out a standard. They are a body that comes together to say, this is how information security should be approached. This is how business continuity should be approached. This is how quality management should be approached. So that is the difference. Why ISA is another different body entirely with another different objective. If it is the Investment and Security Act that I know, then it is basically for the capital market operators and then investments and securities in Nigeria. Okay, someone said difference between internal audit and internal control. I like asking my students this question, but technically, in fact, the way I always ask the question is, do you think internal audit and internal control should be bundled together? Because in most organizations, you see internal audit and control. Do you think both? So I'm just going to give this, if you understand the three lines of defense, internal control is in the second line of defense, while internal audit is in the third line of defense. Internal control is in the second line of defense, while internal audit is in the third line of defense. Internal audit is like, oh, when everything else has happened, before it goes out, they are the independent, they are the one at the top of the line of defense that is overseeing or looking at what every other line of assurance have looked at. The first line of assurance is the operations, that's the owner of the risk, and the second line of assurance is the compliance, control, and risk. Those ones have more experience, they have more competence in risk identification, risk evaluation, risk mitigation, and the likes. While internal control is more operational, uh, um, internal control is not independent of the activities of the organization, but internal audit is always independent of the activity of the organization. So independence is at the third level. That's the third line of defense. Internal control is at the second line of defense. So a lot of people are guilty when they see auditor, especially financial auditing. For auditing that refuse to cooperate, what can an auditor do? You need to look at, first thing you need to check is, how do you, as an auditor, how are you perceived within the organization? Are you seen as a problem finder, or you are seen as a value added auditor? Until when that notion is appropriately addressed, then you will not see any improvement. But always when you have a backing of the top management, because in ISO there is something that is there is the top management responsibility. So what is the tone of the top management regarding audit response, regarding auditee's response to auditor? When there is no consequence management for an auditee not responding to an auditor, then that culture is good. That means the culture is encouraged within the organization, and it is always very difficult to kill that kind of culture. But you as an auditor, look at yourself, look at all the 7 principles, look at all the behaviors that we have discussed about. Are you a value adding auditor? Are you the kind of auditor that comes to a particular system, audit the process, and the auditee will say, oh, this person has added value? Or you are the auditor that comes and they say, hey, the guy has come and identified problem and he added more problem to our problem without giving us a way out on how to solve this thing. So can operational and financial audit checklist be adopted in same operational and financial audit checklist be adopted in same organization and in the same audit? You can decide to have your checklist. You can have as many checklists as you like. You can have, but we have said it that do not let your checklist be a generic checklist, that this checklist can be used for operation. This same checklist can be used for financial. This same checklist is the one that you are using for ISO. So your checklist should be specific to whatever you are doing. Okay, because of our time, I think let me see one more. Okay, so thank you very much, everyone. Um, I so much appreciate you. I didn't know we are going to spend up to this time. We're supposed to close this class by um 9, but this is already 9:26. So if you have further questions, feel free to drop it in the chat. I said I'm going to drop my phone number. So send me if you are not in the um if you are not in the WhatsApp group, send me a chat. I'm going to add you, and then you can also send your question to me. I'm going to answer as much as I can. Okay, thank you everyone for your time, and I hope you have gained one or two in this 2 day class that we had. I want to say a very big thank you for those who stayed up till the end of this class. Who stayed up to the end. You guys are my MVPs. Thank you very much, and I'm sure the institute is happy to have you also. Drop your questions. If there are other further details that is required, you can send a message to the school. Also, you are going to get a response as soon as possible. Enjoy the rest of your day. For those who are still working, and for those who are about to sleep, I say enjoy your night rest. Bye.